The woman across the conference table looked at Felix Zimmerman like he was trying to sell her a bridge in Brooklyn, and Felix knew exactly why. Olivia Chen had been burned before. He could see it in the way her shoulders stayed rigid even when she smiled politely, in how her eyes assessed every word that left his mouth as if weighing it for lies. She was the chief financial officer at Hartwell Manufacturing, a mid-sized industrial equipment company that Felix's corporation, Zimmerman Industries, was in the process of acquiring. This was their third meeting in as many weeks, and while her boss, old Harold Hartwell, seemed eager to finalize the deal and retire to his cabin in Vermont, Olivia treated every discussion like a negotiation with the devil himself. "Mr. Zimmerman," she said, her voice crisp and professional, "you say you plan to keep all current employees on staff, but these numbers suggest otherwise. If you're consolidating operations with your Chicago facility, where exactly do our production workers fit in?" Felix leaned back in his chair, meeting her skeptical gaze. She was younger than he expected for a CFO, probably around 30, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun and glasses that somehow made her look both serious and surprisingly attractive. Not that he had time to think about that. At 34, he had spent the last decade building his manufacturing empire, and this acquisition was crucial to expanding into the Northeast market. The Chicago facility handles automotive parts. Your plant specializes in agricultural equipment. Different markets, different expertise. I need your workers because they know what they are doing, and I would be an idiot to throw that away. You will forgive me if I find that hard to believe, Olivia said. The last company that tried to acquire us said the exact same thing. 6 months after the deal fell through, we discovered they planned to strip our patents and shut us down. So that was it. Felix had heard rumors about a failed acquisition attempt 2 years ago, but he had not realized how badly it had gone. Who was it? Does it matter? It does if I am being judged by someone else's sins. Olivia's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, that he understood what she was doing. "Westfield Corporation," she said finally. "They wined and dined Harold, made all sorts of promises. I was suspicious from the start, did some digging, and found internal documents that told a different story. We walked away, but barely. And you saved this company." "I did my job," Felix nodded slowly. "Then do it now, dig into my company. Look at every acquisition I have made in the past 10 years. Talk to the people at those facilities. See how they were treated. I do not make promises I cannot keep, Miss Chen." She studied him for a long moment, and Felix forced himself not to look away. He meant every word, and he needed her to see that. This deal would not work without her. Harold was a visionary who had built something impressive, but Olivia was the one who kept it running, who understood every detail of the operation. If Felix lost her trust, he lost the acquisition, simple as that. "I will," she said. "And if I find anything questionable, this deal is off. I do not care how much Harold wants to retire." "Fair enough." The meeting ended shortly after, and as Felix walked to his car, his chief operating officer, Marcus Wright, fell into step beside him. "She is a tough one. She is careful. There is a difference. She is going to make this acquisition take twice as long." Felix unlocked his Mercedes and slid into the driver's seat. "Then it takes twice as long. I want this done right." Over the next month, Olivia did exactly what she had promised. Felix heard from multiple facilities that someone had been making calls, asking pointed questions about post-acquisition changes, employee retention, and working conditions. She was thorough. He had to give her that. She requested financial documents going back 7 years, toured his Chicago plant unannounced, and even spoke with workers directly. away from management. He could have been annoyed. Most of his colleagues would have been. But Felix found himself respecting her caution. In a business world full of sharks and liars, Olivia Chen had learned to verify everything, and that made her smart. They met again on a Thursday afternoon in April, this time at the Hartwell plant. Olivia had requested he come see the operation firsthand, and Felix agreed immediately. If she was finally letting him in, he was not going to waste the opportunity. She met him at the entrance, trading her usual business suit for practical slacks and a button-down shirt, safety glasses already perched on her head. "We will start with the main production floor, then move to the warehouse and shipping areas. You are the boss." She gave him a look that suggested she did not believe that for a second, but she led him inside anyway. The plant was impressive, a sprawling facility filled with heavy machinery and the smell of metal and oil. Workers moved with practiced efficiency, and Felix noted the safety protocols in place, the organized workflow, the lack of shortcuts that usually plagued facilities under financial strain. "Harold built this from nothing," Olivia said as they walked. "Started in a garage 40 years ago with 2 employees. Now we have over 300 people working here, most of them from the local community. This is not just a business to them. It is their livelihood." "I understand that." "Do you?" She stopped and turned to face him, and for the first time her professional mask slipped just a little. "I grew up in this town, Mr. Zimmerman. My father worked in this plant for 25 years before he retired. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet to me. They are my neighbors, my friends. So when someone like you comes in talking about acquisitions and expansion, forgive me for being skeptical." Felix held her gaze. "My father was a machinist, worked in a plant not much different from this one. He got laid off when I was 12 because the company got bought out by a larger corporation that decided to move operations overseas. It nearly destroyed my family. So no, Miss Chen, these are not just numbers to me either." Olivia blinked, clearly not expecting that. "I did not know that." "It is not in my corporate biography, but it is why I do things the way I do. I remember what it feels like to watch your father come home defeated, to see your mother cry over bills she cannot pay. I will not do that to people if I can help it." Something shifted in her expression, a slight softening around her eyes. "I checked your references, talked to people at your facilities. They all said the same thing. You are demanding but fair. You expect results but provide the resources to achieve them. No one had a bad word to say about you. Should I be insulted that you sound surprised? Maybe a little." The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Come on, let me show you the rest." They spent 3 hours touring the facility, and Felix found himself genuinely impressed. More than that, he found himself genuinely impressed with Olivia. She knew every detail of the operation, every worker by name, every machine's maintenance schedule and production capacity. When she explained something, she was clear and precise, never talking down to him but never assuming he knew more than he did. She was brilliant at her job, and more than that, she cared deeply about it. By the time they finished, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the parking lot. Felix's driver had left hours ago at his request, and Olivia looked exhausted but satisfied. "Thank you for the tour," Felix said. "I know you did not have to be that thorough." "Yes, I did. If we are going to do this, you need to understand what you are getting." "And what am I getting, Miss Chen?" She met his eyes directly. "A company full of people who care about what they do, who take pride in their work, who deserve better than empty promises. Then it is a good thing I do not make those." Olivia studied him for another moment, then nodded slowly. "I will recommend to Harold that we move forward with the acquisition, but I have conditions." "Name them." I want a 5-year employment guarantee for all current workers in writing, not just verbal assurances. I want quarterly reviews of plant performance with transparent reporting. And I want to stay on as CFO for at least 2 years to ensure the transition goes smoothly. Felix considered. The first 2 requests were reasonable, things he had planned to offer anyway. The third was more complicated. He had his own CFO at Zimmerman Industries, and bringing Olivia into that role meant navigating corporate politics. But looking at her determined expression, he realized he wanted her there. She would keep him honest, challenge him when he needed it, and bring a perspective his company needed. "Counter offer," he said. "Everything you asked for, plus I want you to consider staying on permanently, not just as CFO of this facility, but as a senior financial officer for the entire company. You would report directly to me and have significant say in how we handle all our operations." Olivia's eyes widened. "That is a hell of a promotion. You earned it. I have been watching how you work, Miss Chen. You are exactly the kind of person I want in my company." "I will think about it," she said carefully. "But for now, let us just focus on making this acquisition work." "Fair enough." They shook hands, and Felix felt the calluses on her palm, the firm grip of someone who was not afraid of hard work. As he drove home that night, he found himself thinking about her more than he probably should. It was not just that she was attractive, though she was. It was the way she carried herself, the fierce protectiveness she had for her people, the refusal to compromise on what mattered. He had not been in a serious relationship in 3 years, too focused on building his company to make time for dating. But Olivia Chen made him wonder if maybe he had been using work as an excuse. Not that it mattered. She clearly did not trust easily, and mixing business with personal feelings was a disaster waiting to happen. He would keep things professional, complete the acquisition, and prove to her that he was a man of his word. That was all. The acquisition process took another 2 months of paperwork, legal reviews, and negotiations. Felix made sure every one of Olivia's conditions was met in explicit detail, with no room for interpretation or loopholes. When they finally signed the papers in late June, Harold Hartwell looked happier than Felix had ever seen him. "Take care of my people," the old man said, shaking Felix's hand with surprising strength. "I will. You have my word. I know. Olivia would not have let this happen otherwise." Harold glanced at where Olivia stood talking with the lawyers, a rare smile on her face. "She is the best thing that ever happened to this company. Hired her 8 years ago fresh out of graduate school, and she has been protecting this place like a mother bear ever since. She is impressive. She is also single, in case you were wondering." Felix felt his eyebrows rise. "Harold, I do not think this is appropriate." "Probably not, but I am retired now, so I can say what I want. That girl works too hard, does not make time for her personal life. Reminds me of someone else I know." The old man gave him a knowing look. "Just saying, you could do a lot worse." Before Felix could respond, Olivia walked over, her expression back to its usual professional mask. "Everything is signed. The plant is officially yours as of 9 a.m. tomorrow." "Then I guess I should get used to waking up early," Felix said. "I plan to be there for the transition." Olivia looked surprised again. "You do not have to do that. I can handle it." "I know you can. But the workers should see that I take this seriously, that I am not just some distant CEO who bought their company and disappeared." Something flickered in her eyes, that same softening he had seen before. "Tomorrow, then. 8 a.m. sharp. I will be there." And he was. Felix showed up at 7:30 actually, wanting to walk the floor before the official announcement. Some workers were already arriving, and he made a point to introduce himself, to shake hands and learn names. When 8 o'clock came and Olivia gathered everyone for the announcement, Felix kept his speech short and direct. I know change is scary. I know you have heard promises before that did not pan out, so I am not going to stand here and make a bunch of claims about the future. What I will say is this: you built something here worth preserving. My job is to give you the resources and support to keep doing what you do best. If I fail at that, I expect you to tell me. Miss Chen has my direct number, and she has permission to call me anytime, day or night, if there is a problem. This is your plant. I am just here to make sure it thrives. The response was cautiously optimistic, which was about the best Felix could hope for. Over the next few weeks, he made good on his promise, visiting the plant 3 times a week, meeting with department heads and actually listening to their concerns and suggestions. Olivia watched him carefully during those early days, clearly waiting for him to slip up, to reveal some hidden agenda. But as the weeks turned into months, something began to shift. It started small. She stopped calling him Mr. Zimmerman and started using Felix. She smiled more during their meetings, sometimes even laughed at his jokes. When they had working dinners to discuss integration plans, the conversation would drift to personal topics, and Felix learned that she loved old movies, had a ridiculous cat named Chairman Meow, and made the best homemade dumplings in the state, according to her friends. He learned that she had put herself through college working 3 jobs, that she had a younger brother in medical school she helped support, and that she had been engaged once but called it off when she discovered her fiancé was lying about his gambling debts. He seemed perfect at first, she told Felix one evening over Chinese takeout in her office. Charming, successful, said all the right things, but it was all surface. Underneath, he was hiding problems and expecting me to fix them without being honest about what was actually wrong. How long ago was that? 4 years. I have dated since then, but nothing serious. Guess I got good at spotting red flags and bad at giving people a real chance. Felix understood that more than she knew. Trust is hard to rebuild once someone breaks it. Yeah. She looked at him with those sharp, assessing eyes. You get that? I do. They held each other's gaze for a moment too long, and Felix felt something electric pass between them. He was definitely developing feelings for Olivia Chen, and that was dangerous. She was an employee now, someone under his authority. The last thing he wanted was to make her uncomfortable or create a situation that could be seen as inappropriate. So he did what he always did with uncomfortable feelings. He threw himself into work. He kept things professional with Olivia, friendly but distant. If she noticed the change, she did not say anything, though sometimes he caught her looking at him with an expression he could not quite read. Summer turned to fall, and the Hartwell plant exceeded all integration goals. Production was up, worker satisfaction was high, and the financial numbers were better than projected. Olivia had proven herself invaluable, not just managing the facility but providing insights that helped improve operations at his other plants too. In October, Felix formally offered her the senior position he had mentioned months ago. They were in his office in Chicago, rain pattering against the windows, and Olivia looked shocked. Are you serious? That is a huge role. You have earned it 10 times over. You have an understanding of efficient operations and people management that my current team lacks. I need someone who is not afraid to challenge me, who will prioritize what is right over what is easy. That is you, Olivia. She bit her lip, considering. It would mean relocating to Chicago. Yes. We would provide full relocation assistance, of course. I would have to leave my town, my family. I know. And if that is a deal breaker, I understand. But Chicago is only 3 hours away. You could visit regularly. He paused, then added, and I think you are ready for this. You have spent 8 years protecting one company. Imagine what you could do with 5. Olivia met his eyes, and Felix saw the internal debate playing out. She was scared, he realized, not of the job but of taking a leap, of trusting that this was real. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need." She called him 2 weeks later and accepted. The relief Felix felt was profound and not entirely professional. He told himself it was because she was a valuable employee, but he knew better. He wanted her close. He wanted to see her every day, to work beside her, to keep slowly earning the trust she guarded so carefully. Olivia moved to Chicago in January, finding an apartment in Lincoln Park with a view of the lake. Felix helped her move in, along with Marcus and a few other colleagues, and tried very hard not to notice how she looked in jeans and an old sweatshirt, hair down and messy, laughing as Chairman Meow hissed at everyone from his carrier. "Your cat hates me," Felix said, eyeing the furious ball of orange fur. "He hates everyone. It is his defining characteristic." "Sounds like someone else I know," Marcus muttered, earning a glare from Olivia. "I heard that. You were supposed to." They ordered pizza and beer once the furniture was assembled, and Felix found himself relaxing in a way he rarely did. This felt like friendship, real and easy. Olivia fit into his life seamlessly, and not just at work. She got his sense of humor, challenged his assumptions, and made him want to be better. It was terrifying. At work, Olivia was everything Felix had hoped for. She dove into the financial operations of all 5 facilities, found inefficiencies he had not noticed, and implemented changes that saved the company millions. She was brilliant and relentless, often working 12-hour days, and Felix had to remind her to go home sometimes. "You are going to burn out," he told her one February evening when he found her still at her desk at 9 p.m., says the man who is also still here. "I am the CEO. I am supposed to be a workaholic. And I am the senior financial officer. Same rules apply." But she saved her document and started packing up. "Though I admit, Chairman Meow has probably destroyed my apartment by now as revenge for ignoring him. Want to grab dinner? There is a Thai place around the corner that stays open late." Olivia hesitated, and Felix saw the careful calculation in her eyes. Was this work? Was this personal? Where was the line? "Sure," she said finally. "I could eat." They fell into a pattern after that. Working dinners became a regular thing, sometimes discussing business but often just talking. Felix learned more about her family, her dreams of someday starting her own consulting firm, her love of hiking and the outdoors. She learned about his climb from machinist's son to CEO, the sacrifices he had made, the loneliness that sometimes came with success. "You ever regret it?" she asked one night over pad thai. "Working this hard, I mean, giving up so much of your personal life?" Felix considered the question seriously. "Sometimes. I watch my younger sister with her husband and kids, and I wonder what that would be like. But then I think about the people who depend on me, the jobs I've created, the families I help support. It matters." "It does. But so do you. You cannot pour from an empty cup, Felix." "Is yours full?" Olivia laughed softly. "Fair point. Maybe we are both workaholics using noble causes as an excuse. Maybe. Or maybe we just have not found the right reason to leave the office." Their eyes met, and Felix felt that electric current again, stronger this time. He wanted to reach across the table, take her hand, tell her that she was becoming that reason for him. But he did not. Olivia was finally trusting him, finally letting her guard down. He would not risk that by pushing for more than she was ready to give. So he smiled and changed the subject. And if Olivia looked disappointed, he told himself he was imagining it. Spring came, and with it a crisis at the Texas facility. A major equipment failure threatened to shut down production for weeks, and Felix flew down immediately to assess the situation. Olivia insisted on coming with him, and they spent 3 intense days working with the plant manager to implement emergency solutions. It was exhausting and stressful, and Felix watched Olivia shine under pressure. She was calm and decisive, never panicking, always 3 steps ahead. When they finally got production back online, the relief was overwhelming. "We did it," Olivia said, grinning as they stood on the production floor watching the machinery hum back to life. "You did it. That solution with the backup generators was genius. It was a team effort." Felix looked at her, at the smudge of grease on her cheek and the pride in her eyes, and something in him just gave way. He was in love with Olivia Chen. Completely, terrifyingly in love, and he had no idea what to do about it. They flew back to Chicago that night, and Felix was quiet during the flight. Olivia noticed, of course she did, but she did not push. When they landed, she touched his arm gently. "You okay?" "Yeah, just tired." "You sure? You seem somewhere else." He wanted to tell her. Wanted to say that he was falling in love with her, that she had become the most important person in his life without him realizing it. But fear held him back. What if she did not feel the same? What if he ruined everything they had built? "I am fine," he said. "Just need some sleep." Olivia did not look convinced, but she let it drop. Over the next few weeks, Felix tried to get his feelings under control. He threw himself into work, kept interactions with Olivia professional, and tried to ignore the way his heart jumped every time she walked into a room. It was not working. If anything, the distance made it worse. He missed their dinners, missed the easy conversation and her sharp laugh. And Olivia noticed the change. He could see the confusion and hurt in her eyes when he made excuses to avoid their usual hangouts, the way she became more formal with him at work. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked finally, cornering him in his office one afternoon in April. "What? No." "Then why are you avoiding me? We used to work together all the time, used to actually talk. Now you barely look at me in meetings." Felix rubbed his face, exhausted. "Olivia, you did not do anything wrong." "Then what is going on?" "I thought we were friends, Felix. More than that, I thought we were a good team. But lately you have been treating me like just another employee, and I do not understand why." He could hear the frustration in her voice, the hurt underneath, and he realized what an idiot he had been. Trying to protect his feelings, he had hurt hers. He had made her doubt herself, doubt them, doubt everything they had built together. "You are right," he said quietly. "We are friends. A good team. The best team I have ever had, actually." Then what changed? Felix looked at her, at the woman who had spent a year slowly letting him past her walls, who had learned to trust him despite every reason not to. She deserved honesty. Even if it complicated everything, even if it risked their working relationship, she deserved to know the truth. "I developed feelings for you," he said. "Feelings that go beyond professional or even friendship, and I did not know how to handle it, so I pulled back. I am sorry." That was the wrong thing to do. Olivia stared at him, her expression unreadable. The silence stretched between them, and Felix felt his heart pounding. He had just blown up everything they had built. She was going to transfer or quit, or worse, stay and be uncomfortable around him forever. "How long?" she asked finally. "A while. Months, probably. I tried to ignore it, tried to keep things professional. But working with you every day, seeing how brilliant you are, how much you care about people, how hard you work for what is right. Olivia, you are extraordinary. And I am in love with you." More silence. Then, to his complete shock, Olivia laughed. It was a slightly hysterical sound, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You are unbelievable," she said. Felix felt his stomach drop. "I know, I am sorry. I will understand if you want to transfer to a different department or—" "Felix, shut up." Olivia crossed the space between them, and before he could process what was happening, she kissed him. It was not a gentle kiss. It was fierce and desperate, months of tension and want finally finding release. Felix froze for half a second before his brain caught up, and then he was kissing her back, his hands coming up to frame her face, her fingers gripping his shirt like she was afraid he might disappear. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Olivia pressed her forehead to his. "You are an idiot," she whispered. "I know. I have had feelings for you since last summer, maybe before. I kept telling myself it was just admiration, just respect. But then we started spending time together, and I realized I was falling for you, really falling, and it scared me to death." Felix pulled back enough to see her face. "Why did not you say anything?" "Because you are my boss, and I did not want you to think I was using you, or that I accepted this position for the wrong reasons. And because—" She took a shaky breath. "Because the last time I trusted someone with my heart, he lied to me for months. He made me feel stupid for believing him. And I swore I would not let that happen again. Olivia. But you are not him. You have spent a year proving that. Every promise you made, you kept. Every time I tested you, you passed. You earned my trust so slowly I did not even notice it happening until one day I realized I trusted you completely. I trust you with this company, with my career, with my heart. And that is terrifying and wonderful at the same time." Felix felt something loosen in his chest, a knot he had not realized he was carrying. "I will never lie to you. I will never give you reason to doubt me. I promise you that, Olivia. I know. That is why I love you." They kissed again, softer this time, full of promise and relief. When they finally separated, Felix could not stop smiling. "We should probably talk about the logistics of this," he said. "Office relationships, disclosure to HR, all that, ever practical." But Olivia was smiling too. "Yes, we should, but maybe not right now. Right now, I just want to enjoy the fact that the man I love actually loves me back. I do. So much." They stood there in his office, holding each other, and Felix felt a peace he had not experienced in years. This was right. They were right. He had spent a year earning Olivia's trust, proving himself worthy of it. And now he would spend the rest of his life making sure she never regretted giving it to him. Of course, reality came crashing back eventually. They had to disclose their relationship to the board, which led to some complicated discussions about reporting structures and potential conflicts of interest. Felix insisted that Olivia's position be restructured, so she reported directly to the board rather than him, ensuring her role and authority were protected. The board agreed, impressed by both of their professionalism. There was gossip, of course. Whispers about the boss dating his employee, speculation about favoritism and impropriety. But anyone who actually worked with them could see the truth. Olivia had earned her position through merit and hard work, and their relationship had developed naturally over time, built on mutual respect and admiration. Felix's sister Rachel was thrilled when he told her. "Finally," she said over the phone. "I was beginning to think you would marry your company. I was a little worried about that too. So when do I get to meet her? Soon. She is nervous about meeting the family." "Why, we are delightful. You are terrifying and you know it," Rachel laughed. "Fair. But tell her we will be nice. Anyone who got you to actually feel human emotions gets my approval automatically." Felix brought Olivia to meet his family in May, driving down to his hometown for his nephew's birthday party. Olivia was quiet during the drive, and Felix reached over to take her hand. "They are going to love you. You do not know that. I do. You are smart and funny and kind, plus you make me happy, which is all my mother has wanted for years." No pressure then. But Felix was right. His mother took one look at Olivia and immediately pulled her into a hug. His sister Rachel grilled her about her job, but with genuine interest rather than suspicion. His brother-in-law talked her ear off about financial planning for his construction business, and his nieces and nephews dragged her outside to play, delighted to have a new adult to boss around. Watching Olivia laugh as his 7-year-old niece insisted she be the princess in their game, Felix felt his heart expand. This was his future. This brilliant, guarded woman who had learned to trust him, who had led him into her carefully protected heart. This was everything he had been working toward without realizing it. That night, after they drove back to Chicago, Olivia was quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet, thoughtful rather than nervous. "Your family is wonderful," she said finally. "They liked you too." "My mother asked if we were getting married yet. Felix, I am serious. She actually said those words. I told her to calm down, that we have only been officially together for 2 months. Olivia was quiet for another moment. Then she said, "What did you say?" "What?" "When she asked about marriage, what did you say?" Felix glanced at her, then back at the road. "I said not yet, that I wanted to do this right, to make sure you were ready for that kind of commitment, that I was not going to rush you into anything." "And if I was ready," his heart skipped. "Are you?" "I am not saying we should get married tomorrow. But Felix, I have spent 4 years avoiding serious relationships because I was afraid of getting hurt again. And then you came along and just patiently wore down every defense I had. You proved yourself over and over until one day I realized I was not afraid anymore. I trust you completely. So if you are thinking about forever, I am thinking about it too." Felix pulled the car over, not caring that they were on a random suburban street. He turned to face Olivia fully. "I am thinking about forever. I have been thinking about it since probably January. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you. I want kids and a house and Chairman Meow terrorizing us both. I want everything, Olivia. With you." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she was smiling. "I want that too. I did not think I would ever want that again, but I do. With you." They kissed in the car on that random street, and Felix felt like his life was finally complete. He had built a successful company, yes, but this was what mattered. The woman in his arms, the future they were planning together, the trust they had fought so hard to build. They did not rush into marriage. Felix proposed properly 6 months later, taking Olivia back to the Hartwell plant where they had first met. He had arranged with the current plant manager to use the facility after hours, and when Olivia walked onto the production floor, it was decorated with lights and flowers. "Felix, what is this?" "This is where I met the most stubborn, brilliant, infuriating woman I have ever known. Where I realized that success means nothing if you do not have someone to share it with. Where I started falling in love with you without even realizing it." He got down on one knee, pulling out the ring he had spent weeks picking out, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds because Olivia did not do traditional. "Olivia Chen, you have made me earn every bit of your trust, and I would not have it any other way. You have made me a better man, a better leader, a better human being. Will you marry me?" She was crying openly now, nodding before he even finished the question. "Yes, yes, of course, yes." The ring fit perfectly, and when Felix stood and kissed her, he heard cheering. He looked up to see workers from the plant watching from the offices above, apparently in on the secret. Olivia laughed through her tears and waved at them, and Felix held her close. They got married the following spring in a ceremony that mixed both their families and friends. Harold Hartwell gave Olivia away, beaming with pride. Rachel was Olivia's maid of honor, having become one of her closest friends, and Felix's old machinist father stood beside him as best man, tears in his eyes as he watched his son marry a woman who truly understood where they came from. The reception was held at a restored industrial building, a nod to both their careers, and Felix's speech made half the guests cry. I spent 10 years building a company, he said, holding Olivia's hand. I thought that was my purpose, my legacy. But then I met a woman who did not trust easily, who made me prove myself every single day, who taught me that real success is not measured in profits or acquisitions, but in the relationships we build, the people we help, the love we create. Olivia, you have given me everything that matters, and I will spend the rest of my life earning that gift. Olivia's response was shorter but just as powerful. Felix wore down my defenses so slowly I did not even notice until one day I realized I was completely, hopelessly in love with him. He turned my cynicism into hope, my fear into trust. And I cannot wait to see what we build together. They bought a house in the suburbs with a big yard and adopted 2 rescue dogs to keep Chairman Meow company, much to the cat's disgust. Olivia continued working as senior financial officer, proving her brilliance time and again. Felix made sure she got the credit she deserved, even when it meant admitting his ideas were wrong and hers were right. Their first son was born 2 years after the wedding, a squalling bundle they named David after Felix's father. Their daughter arrived 18 months later, quieter but just as determined. And watching Olivia with their children, seeing her fierce protectiveness and infinite patience, Felix fell in love with her all over again. One evening when David was 5 and Emma was 3, Felix found Olivia in their home office going over reports. He leaned against the doorframe just watching her work, still amazed that this was his life. "You are staring," she said without looking up. "Can you blame me?" She smiled and finally met his eyes. "I suppose not, though I am covered in finger paint from Emma's art project and probably smell like the peanut butter sandwich David smeared in my hair. Still the most beautiful woman I have ever seen." Olivia set down her pen and crossed to him, sliding her arms around his waist. "You know, 4 years ago I did not trust anyone. I thought love was a liability, that caring made you vulnerable. And then you showed up and just patiently, relentlessly proved me wrong. I did not do anything special." "You did everything special. You kept your promises. You respected my boundaries. You let me set the pace. You earned my trust so slowly I did not even notice until it was already yours completely." Felix kissed her forehead. "Best decision I ever made." "Which part?" "All of it. Acquiring that company, putting up with your skepticism, falling in love with you, marrying you, building this life, all of it." From upstairs came a crash followed by childish giggling, and they both sighed. "I should check on that," Olivia said. "We should check on that." They went upstairs together, finding David and Emma building a fort out of every blanket and pillow they owned, while Chairman Meow supervised disapprovingly from the dresser. And as Felix helped his children construct their masterpiece, Olivia laughing beside him, he thought about the journey that had led here. He had set out to acquire a company and ended up finding the love of his life. He had spent a year earning the trust of a woman who had been hurt before, proving himself through actions rather than words. And that slow, patient process had given them a foundation stronger than any quick romance could have created. Olivia caught his eye across the chaos of their children's fort, and the look she gave him was full of love and trust and promise. She did not trust easily anymore after what she had been through, but she trusted him completely. And that trust had been earned so slowly, so thoroughly, that it would last a lifetime, which was exactly what they had. A lifetime together, built on honesty and respect, and a love that had been earned rather than given. And Felix could not imagine anything more perfect. Years later, when David asked how they met, Olivia smiled and said, "Your father bought the company I worked for. I did not trust him at first." "Why not?" Emma asked, curled up between them on the couch. "Because I had been hurt before, sweetheart." Sometimes when that happens, you build walls to protect yourself. But Dad got past the walls, David asked. Felix ruffled his son's hair. I did not get past them. Your mother let me in, one brick at a time, because I showed her through my actions that I was trustworthy. He kept his promises, Olivia said softly, taking Felix's hand. Every single one. And eventually I realized I did not need those walls anymore, not with him. That is romantic, Emma said, making a face that suggested she was not entirely convinced. It is, David agreed. In a boring grown-up way. Felix and Olivia laughed, and their children ran off to play, already bored with the love story. But Felix squeezed Olivia's hand and she squeezed back, and they sat in comfortable silence, two people who had found each other against the odds. She had not trusted easily after being betrayed. He had earned that trust so slowly, so carefully, that she had not even noticed until it was completely his. And that slow building had given them something unshakable, a love that would weather any storm. It was not a fairy tale. It was better. It was real, earned, and absolutely worth every moment of patient work it had taken to create. And as Felix looked at the life they had built together, he knew he would not change a single thing about their journey, because the best things in life were not given freely. They were earned. And Olivia Chen's trust, her love, her heart had been the greatest thing Felix had ever worked for. The fact that he got to keep it forever was the greatest success of his life.